MSNBC political analyst Michelle Bernard is president of the Bernard Center for Women, Politics and Public Policy. David Drucker is a reporter for Roll Call, and Anita Dunn is a former White House communications director. Welcome, all of you. Okay, Michelle Bernard, you heard Haley Barbour say to Herman Cain, just release this woman from her disclosure. Get it all out. Don't let this drag on.
I completely agree with Governor Barbour, but, you know, there's a legal question, which is, was Herman Cain actually a party to the suit? Like, it might not.
Or was it the association?
Exactly. Right? It might. I would assume, the lawyer in me would assume that it's really up to the association to release this and to say that we're going to drop the confidentiality clause. I find it very difficult to believe that Herman Cain himself could actually say, I can open up the confidentiality agreement.
But Anita Dunn, when you see, and I interviewed the lawyer for one of the women who's basically mad at how Herman Cain's, upset at how she believes she is being characterized by Herman Cain, meaning she wants to speak out. I mean, if you're Herman Cain, how do you prepare for this?
Listen, if you're Herman Cain, you should have been prepared for this, because at the end of the day, these things get out. I mean, there are too many people in this town who probably knew about that. A lot of former employees of the National Restaurant Association, for example, some of whom, who knows, may be backing other candidates, Chuck. But you have to assume at the beginning of a campaign you're going to be dealing with these things. And if there's one lesson all of us have learned from campaigns over the years, it's that this will get out.
Sealed records never stay sealed.
Sealed records are not sealed.
You've been involved in campaigns with sealed divorce records.
We've all been in campaigns with sealed records. Okay, and the fact of the matter is there's nothing sealed once you're running for president, that the voters actually have an expectation of transparency, and then they'll make up their own minds. And Herman Cain, whatever the legalities are, he should call on the Restaurant Association to release those records.
David Drucker, we're not seeing evidence that this has hurt him yet, and in fact Herman Cain himself was almost, bragging is not the right word, but boasting about some of the boosting his campaign has gotten. Here's what he said yesterday.
I absolutely agree we could have been better prepared. And in the future, we probably will be. So, you know, mea culpa, I don't believe it has hurt my campaign at all, just based upon not only the volunteers and the phone calls, but the fundraising has just really gone up dramatically.
Over $400,000 raise, they said, in one day. And then you do sense a backlash among some of his conservative supporters who love to hate the media more than anything else.
Yep. And I'm not surprised. I've seen this on previous Republican campaigns. In the last few days of the Schwarzenegger recall campaign, when the LA Times reported on the groping allegations, conservatives, Republicans rallied to his side. It became an issue of the Times and the media and them being out to get Republicans. And regardless of what you think of that sort of dynamic and what the truth is there, I talked to a number of Republican consultants this week with presidential campaign experience, and they told me this could actually help him, at least in the immediate, because his supporters are going to assume that the knives are out for him because he's the conservative who can win, and the establishment wants Mitt Romney. And so I think that, at least for now, this helps him with voters. I think long term, if you look at the general election, this could be a real problem.
Michelle, but I want to add, but before you add something, I want to talk about, I was surprised at how easily some supporters of Herman Cain are using race to talk about this story. So, for instance, Americans for Herman Cain, the super PAC that was started to support Herman Cain's president, they sent out this blast email looking for fundraising that said, don't let the media lynch another black conservative. They are engaging in a high-tech lynching by smearing his reputation, attacking his character. And Herman Cain said he thought race was a part of this, but had no evidence.
Yeah, and I saw the interview, and there is, I understand it from a tactical point of view, but I think that there are a lot of African Americans and Americans in general that are going to sit back and say, you can't really throw the race card when we have an African American who is president of the United States, and these kind of allegations didn't come out about Obama. I mean, I think there's a pretty serious problem with saying this is a high-tech lynching. You draw back parallels to Clarence Thomas.
But I think that was the intention, was to draw
absolutely
the parallels.
The intention was to draw parallels to Clarence Thomas. But I think in the short term it's going to help him raise money. In the long term, I think this really hurts him. I think it's going to hurt with African Americans, and I think it's going to hurt with women. We have a huge gender gap in this country, and whenever what actually occurred comes out, Herman Cain is going to have to either go out and do a mea culpa and explain and apologize, or this is going to hurt him with women voters also.
You know, Anita, Maureen Dowd today, when the way she went through it, you know, she was really dismissive of the race argument, said, you know, this is just another classic tale of a Washington power man, a man in power abusing his place in power.
Chuck, I don't know the details of what happened, and they're still sealed. I think we all feel like he should follow Governor Barber's advice. Governor Barber, as you pointed out in your interview, pretty good political mind here. But there are a couple of things that in the long run hurt his candidacy. The first is, and hurt the Republicans. One is they're not talking about the economy this week. Okay. Two is that one could argue that last week Mitt Romney had perhaps the worst week of his campaign.
Particularly for conservatives who were already especially with the Ohio issue when he didn't look like he was on the same side.
Absolutely. The Ohio issue, first the foreclosure comment in Nevada, which I think really does hurt him in the state of Nevada and other places as well. But the Ohio issue, which really was kind of encapsulated, I think, many people's concerns around Romney. And so he was in a pretty bad place to begin with. And then with this story, not only is the focus not on Romney any longer, but it's not on economics and it's not on Herman Cain's strength. And it's, well, and I think if you look at the Q poll this morning and you see that, that some of what the White House has been doing clearly is breaking through to voters here in terms of the We Can't Wait.
David Drucker, what do you make of Jonah Goldberg's tweet yesterday that said, imagine if Tim Pawlenty were still in the race? It was just an interesting, throw it out there.
Well, look, I think that after the 2008 race where McCain came back from the dead and this race where you have Herman Cain come out of nowhere and Rick Perry go from somewhere to nowhere, I think anybody running for president would do well not to drop out
Nobody's
too
getting out
early.
Because,
by the way, the last good day Michelle Bachmann had in this campaign was the straw poll victory that knocked Tim Pawlenty out of the race.
All right, Michelle, David, and Nina, stick around. We're going to talk about other things other than Herman Cain after the break. Trivia, we asked, what is the fewest number of states a candidate can win and still be elected president? The answer is 11. This electoral college goes to 11. It's possible to amass exactly 270 electoral votes by winning California, Texas, New York, Florida, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, and New Jersey. Interesting there, if you're Team Obama, only Texas seems to be completely out of reach there in their minds. We'll be right back. You're watching the Daily Rundown only on MSNBC.